If you've ever worked hard all month and still felt behind, if you've ever wondered why money seems to control your choices more than you control money, then stay with me. Because the story of the first financial ruler of the world explains exactly why this feeling exists and how you can reverse it in your own life. Long before stock markets, banks, credit cards, or apps, power did not come from armies alone. It came from controlling how people measured value, stored effort, and trusted exchange. And the first person to truly understand and rule that system didn't just shape history, they shaped how money still works today. When we talk about the first financial ruler of the world, historians often point to King Croesus of Lydia in the 6th century BCE, not because he was the richest man in myth, but because he ruled the first known society to issue standardized gold coins backed by state authority. And that single decision quietly changed human behavior forever by turning trust into a system and value into something portable, measurable, and scalable. Before this, people traded using barter, weighed metals, or relied on temple records, which meant economic life was slow, local, and limited by personal trust. But once Croesus stamped value onto coins, he made money independent of relationships, and that is where real financial power began. What matters for you today is not the ancient history, but the principle behind it, because the first financial ruler didn't rule by force. He ruled by designing the system people had to live inside, and modern money works the same way. When a government controls currency, when banks control credit, when corporations control wages, they are not just managing money. They are shaping behavior, incentives, and risk, and understanding this is the foundation of a modern money mindset. Croesus understood that if people trusted the money, they would trust the system, and if they trusted the system, economic activity would expand without constant enforcement, which is exactly what central banks aim for today when they manage inflation expectations. Inflation itself is not just rising prices, it is a signal problem. Because when trust in money weakens, people rush to spend, borrow, or speculate, and when trust is strong, people save, invest, and plan long-term. The first financial ruler didn't need to teach financial literacy, but you do. Because today the system is far more complex and the consequences of misunderstanding it are personal, not royal. In ancient Lydia, coins reduced friction in trade, increased specialization, and expanded markets, but they also introduced inequality, debt, and financial risk. Because once money became abstract, people could accumulate it, lend it, and lose it. This is where modern lessons begin, because the moment money becomes a system, individuals must learn how to operate within it or be operated by it. The average person today earns money through labor, but lives within a financial structure they did not design, where inflation quietly reduces purchasing power, debt compounds faster than income, and cash flow determines freedom more than total wealth. The first financial ruler understood cash flow intuitively, because coins circulating through the economy created prosperity, while hoarded wealth slowed growth, and the same truth applies to personal finance today. If your income only enters your life and immediately leaves through expenses, debt payments, and lifestyle costs, then no matter how much you earn, you are financially stagnant, and the solution is not earning more alone, but controlling flow. This is why modern financial thinking focuses on systems instead of events, habits instead of windfalls, and structure instead of luck. The ancient ruler's power came from designing money that worked predictably, and your personal power comes from designing a financial life that behaves predictably under stress. That starts with understanding income as a system, not a paycheck. In the modern economy, income can come from employment, self-employment, investments, digital work, or combinations of all three. But the key difference between financial stress and financial stability is whether your income is dependent on a single fragile source or diversified across resilient streams. The first financial ruler reduced risk by standardizing value, and you reduce risk by standardizing your income expectations and building buffers. Saving is not about deprivation, it is about time control, because savings buy you the ability to make decisions without panic. When Croesus introduced gold coins, he created a store of value that outlasted seasons and wars, and when you save today, you are doing the same thing on a smaller scale by converting effort into future choice. Investing then becomes the next layer, not as speculation, but as participation in productive systems. In ancient economies, investing meant funding trade expeditions, farms, or workshops, and returns came from real output, not paper promises. Modern investing works best when it follows the same principle, owning productive assets that generate cash flow or grow with the economy over time, rather than chasing short-term price movements driven by emotion. Risk awareness is critical here, because the first financial ruler knew that trust could be broken, coins could be debased, and systems could fail, which is why diversification and prudence mattered even then. Today, risk comes from inflation eroding savings, market volatility affecting investments, and debt locking future income into past decisions. And ignoring these risks doesn't make them disappear, it just transfers control away from you. Debt is one of the most powerful tools in any financial system, and also one of the most dangerous, because it allows you to pull future income into the present, which can accelerate growth or trap you in obligation. Ancient rulers used debt to control populations, and modern consumers often use debt to maintain lifestyles, but the underlying dynamic is the same. Whoever controls the terms controls the outcome. Smart debt supports productive activity, like education that increases earning power or tools that generate income, while bad debt finances consumption that produces no future cash flow. Understanding this distinction is one of the most practical lessons you can apply, because it shifts your decisions from emotional to strategic. The digital economy has added a new layer to this story. Because money now moves faster than ever, work is increasingly location independent, and value is often created through information, creativity, and coordination rather than physical goods. This creates opportunities, but also confusion, because when income is less visible and more variable, people struggle to plan. The lesson from the first financial ruler still applies. Systems create stability, and individuals who build personal systems around budgeting, saving, investing, and skill development are better positioned to adapt. Budgeting is not restriction, it is awareness, and awareness is the first step to control. When you know where your money goes, you can align it with your priorities instead of reacting to impulses shaped by marketing and social pressure. The ancient financial system worked because it aligned incentives, and your personal financial system should do the same by making good decisions easier and bad decisions harder. Automation, for example, is a modern equivalent of standardization, because when savings and investments happen automatically, they don't depend on willpower. Inflation is often misunderstood as a political issue, but at the personal level, it is a math problem, because if your income and investments do not grow faster than prices, your real standard of living declines over time. The first financial ruler benefited from expanding trade and production, which increased real wealth, and individuals today must think similarly by focusing on skills and assets that grow with the economy. Skills are a form of capital, and investing in them can produce returns just as real as financial assets, especially in a changing job market. Modern work opportunities, from remote employment to freelancing to small digital businesses, allow individuals to participate directly in value creation, but they also require discipline, planning, and risk management. Not every opportunity is sustainable, and chasing trends without understanding fundamentals leads to instability. The calm, realistic approach is to build competence, test ideas small, manage cash flow carefully, and scale only when systems prove reliable. This mirrors how early financial systems expanded gradually, building trust through consistency. Trust is still the core of finance, whether it's trust in currency, institutions, or yourself. When you keep promises to yourself about saving, spending, and investing, you build internal trust, which reduces stress and improves decision-making. The first financial ruler didn't rely on charisma alone. He relied on predictable rules, and your financial life benefits from the same principle. Predictability reduces anxiety, and reduced anxiety improves judgment. Over time, small, consistent actions compound into significant results, not because of magic, but because systems amplify behavior. Compound growth applies not only to money, but to habits, knowledge, and networks, and understanding this helps you stay patient in a world obsessed with quick wins. The modern financial environment is noisy, filled with opinions, predictions, and promises, but clarity comes from focusing on what you can control: your spending rate, your saving rate, your skill development, and your risk exposure. The first financial ruler controlled the system, but you can control your position within the system by learning how it works. This is not about becoming wealthy overnight, it is about becoming resilient over time. Resilience means having options, and options come from liquidity, low fixed expenses, diversified income, and adaptable skills. When economic conditions change, as they always do, resilient individuals adjust while others react. The ancient world faced wars, crop failures, and political shifts, yet financial systems endured because they were designed to absorb shocks, and your personal finances should aim for the same durability. Emergency funds, insurance, and conservative assumptions are not signs of fear, they are signs of respect for uncertainty. The first financial ruler respected uncertainty by creating money people trusted even when conditions changed, and you show the same respect by preparing for downturns rather than denying their possibility. Over a lifetime, financial success is less about maximizing returns and more about avoiding catastrophic mistakes, because losses require larger gains to recover. This is why risk management is more important than excitement. Investing basics like diversification, long-term perspective, and cost control may sound boring, but boring is stable, and stability creates space for growth. The digital age has democratized investing, but it has also amplified speculation, and separating the two is essential for anyone serious about their financial future. Speculation relies on predicting short-term movements, while investing relies on participating in long-term value creation, and the latter aligns better with human psychology and real economic growth. The first financial ruler benefited from expanding trade networks, and modern investors benefit from global diversification, owning pieces of many productive enterprises rather than betting on a few outcomes. Taxes are another reality that cannot be ignored because they shape net returns and cash flow, and understanding them is part of financial literacy. While ancient rulers collected tribute and taxes in kind or coin, modern systems are more complex, but the principle is the same. After tax outcomes matter more than gross numbers. Planning with taxes in mind helps avoid surprise and improves efficiency. Retirement is often framed as an age, but financially it is a state where income from assets and systems replaces income from labor, and reaching that state requires long-term planning rather than last-minute effort. The first financial ruler accumulated power by thinking beyond immediate needs, and individuals who plan decades ahead gain similar leverage over their time. Time is the ultimate currency, because unlike money, it cannot be earned back, and financial planning is ultimately about trading money for time freedom. This does not mean stopping work entirely, but choosing how and when to work. In a modern context, this might mean part-time consulting, creative projects, or mentoring supported by savings and investments. The idea is flexibility, not escape. As technology continues to reshape work, those who understand finance will adapt more easily because they can evaluate opportunities rationally rather than emotionally. Emotional decisions are costly in finance, and systems exist to exploit them, from high-interest debt to speculative bubbles. Awareness is your defense. The first financial ruler succeeded because he understood human behavior, not just metal and minting, and modern financial thinkers do the same by recognizing biases like overconfidence, fear, and herd mentality. By slowing down decisions, seeking evidence, and focusing on fundamentals, individuals can avoid many common traps. Financial education is not about memorizing terms, it is about developing judgment, and judgment improves with experience and reflection. Mistakes are part of the process, but small mistakes teach, while large mistakes cripple, which is why starting early and starting small matters. The modern financial landscape offers tools that ancient rulers could not imagine, from index funds to digital wallets, but tools are only as effective as the mindset using them. A calm, long-term mindset transforms finance from a source of stress into a tool for stability. The story of the first financial ruler is not about gold or power, it is about understanding systems and aligning behavior with reality. When you see money as a system rather than a mystery, you stop chasing shortcuts and start building structures. Those structures, once in place, support you quietly over time, freeing mental energy for work, relationships, and creativity. This is the real legacy of the first financial ruler, not wealth, but the insight that controlling the rules of exchange shapes outcomes. While you may not control the global financial system, you can control your personal one, and that control, applied consistently, is enough to change your financial trajectory. The modern economy rewards those who are prepared, patient, and informed, not those who are lucky for a moment. By focusing on cash flow, managing risk, respecting inflation, using debt carefully, investing simply, and continuously improving skills, you place yourself on the same side of history as those who understood finance early, not as rulers, but as individuals who chose clarity over confusion. Over time, that choice compounds quietly, steadily, and realistically into a life where money supports your goals instead of dictating them, and that is the most practical form of financial power available today. Money has always been a system, not a reward, and those who understand the system gain control, while those who ignore it surrender their future to it. The first financial ruler of the world did not win by hoarding gold or casing luxury, but by designing trust, discipline, and predictable rules, and that same truth applies to your life today. You do not need to be rich to be financially strong, but you must be intentional. When you manage cash flow instead of just income, when you respect inflation instead of denying it, when you use debt as a tool and not a crutch, and when you invest patiently in real value, you stop reacting and start directing your financial path. The modern world will always change, jobs will evolve, markets will rise and fall, and technology will disrupt comfort, but a person who understands money systems is never powerless. Financial freedom is not an event, it is a position built slowly through discipline, awareness, and consistency. The most powerful message is this: you may not rule the world's financial system, but you can rule your own, and once you do, money stops controlling your decisions and starts supporting your life.